Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our show, Crunch Time with Kruck. My name is Jacob Krukenberg. This is Max Williams, and here on our show, we discuss the latest that happens in the wide world of sports. Without much more further ado, we're going to jump right into things. First topic we're going to cover today, the Super Bowl. The Kansas City Chiefs will be hosting the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Tampa Bay. Yes, you heard that right. Tampa Bay is the visiting team at their own stadium. This is the first time the Chiefs and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers will be playing in the Super Bowl against each other. Tell us more, Max.
Well, Kruck, this game, like you said, it feels like a disadvantage, right? You know, you're down in Tampa, like, wait, what are they doing? Why are they in Tampa, right? It just feels a little bit weird and strange. But to me, this game, I believe, is going to be a high-scoring game, right? It's a high-scoring game, going to be 35. I think it's going to be like 35, 31 kind of range. I mean, if any chance is going to come to whose defense makes a stop, right? Whose defense, to me, is going to make the stop, make the play to win the game. I mean, if you're the Buccaneers, you can't allow 269 or whatever you allowed to Tyreek Hill that last game, Week 12. That can't happen. If you're Carlton Davis, you're those corners, you got to be able to stop them because the Chiefs are just too much firepower on offense. With Kelsey, with Hill, with Hardman, they're so good with getting the offense going. And the Buccaneers, same as well. I mean, they got Fournette, they got Brown. So I guess it's going to come to whose defense makes a stop and who's going to be able to make the big play at the end of the game.
I mean, you're absolutely right. Just some couple more overviews. The Chiefs, if they repeat this year, they will only be the 8th team in NFL history to repeat Super Bowls. Bruce Arians and Andy Reid, two of the greatest coaches still in the game today, have only coached against each other twice in their career, each time only winning by 3. Andy Reid beat Bruce Arians by 3, and then vice versa. Tom Brady is been in the Super Bowl 10 times out of his 21 seasons.
Amazing.
For those who aren't math majors, that is 47%. And for those basketball fans out there, Steph Curry hits a three-pointer 43% of the time. So there's a better chance that Tom Brady makes the Super Bowl than Steph Curry hitting a three-pointer. Also, the Bucs will be the first team to host their own Super Bowl. As mentioned, they are the visiting team, though. The Chiefs are favored by 3.5 points, and this is going to be a pass-heavy game. Tampa Bay has one great running back who did not get 1,000 yards in the regular season. The Chiefs have 3 great running backs that, when added their total, it's right around the 1,000-yard mark, but not anything spectacular. Both quarterbacks have huge arms, and this is going to be a slugfest.
Yeah, like I said, Kruck, it's going to be an offensive showdown, right? It's going to be between two offenses that really know how, they're both quarterbacks, both experienced. Mahomes, obviously, he's been in 3 years into the NFL, with Brady being in there for a long time. A long time. So it's going to be up to, like I said, who is going to be able to make that play to help the team out and really, make it happen for each team.
And when you talk about experience in the Super Bowl, Tom Brady's been there 10 times, so you don't get much more experience than that. But the rest of his team hasn't been to the Super Bowl all that often. Gronkowski came from New England. He has experience there. A couple other players have experience in the Super Bowl, but not a whole lot for Tampa Bay. The Chiefs, the entire Chiefs team has been to one Super Bowl last year's. So neither team has an overwhelming sense of experience, but it should be a great game at the end of the day. Last year's Super Bowl champs trying to repeat. Tom Brady going for the 7th ring. I think it's going to be a great game.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on, like I said, it's all about, it's going to be a fireworks, right? It's going to be, you're down in Tampa, you're down in the sunshine, you're enjoying it all, and I believe the running backs too, Kruck, mention it this way, with Fournette and those running backs for the Chiefs, with Hilaire and all those running backs, I think are going to be a big part of this game as well. Keep an eye on Keyshawn Vaughn. I really like him. That's Vanderbilt running back. He's a very shifty back, and he can make a lot of plays.
Once again, we're talking about the coaches. Andy Reid has been to the Super Bowl a total of 5 times, but he's only been the head coach 3 times, winning last year's, if you remember 2019, over the 49ers. And Bruce Arians has never head coached a Super Bowl, but he's been to 3 Super Bowls, once as the wide receiver head coach for Pittsburgh Steelers, twice as the offensive coordinator for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and he ended up walking away 2-1. So Bruce Arians does have 2 Super Bowl rings.
Yeah.
So that's definitely got to be something to look for. And then for all those non-sports fans who are going to watch the game, the ads and the halftime show is supposed to be one for the record books. The Weeknd put $7 million into these halftime show to make it the best ever. But I still think that Purple Rain, sung by Prince, and It Started Raining will still be the best.
For sure, Kruck. Well, Kruck, talking about the Super Bowl, we're going to move on to another NFL topic. A big blockbuster trade happened this week between Matt Stafford and Jared Goff. The Rams are going to get Matt Stafford in a trade with the Lions getting 2 first-round picks and Jared Goff in the trade as well. So, Kruck, with all this in mind, how do you think which team got the advantage in this trade?
I think that the Rams ended up walking away as the winners of that trade. Detroit ended up getting, a decent comeback for it. Detroit now has Jared Goff, a decent quarterback. Not a great one, but his name's big enough that he can make ripples in the NFL. They also got the running back from the Rams, Todd Gurley. Situational running back right there. He's good. He's on the decline. You got to see how it goes from here. But the number 1 overall pick out of Georgia in 2009, Matt Stafford, finally reunited with his high school buddy, Clayton Kershaw. So how about that? A random trade in the NFL ends up bringing 2 high school friends back together.
I mean, who would have thought? That's awesome, Kruk. I mean, when you think of this, though, I really like, when I look at trades, I look at who has the clear advantage, right? When you look at trades, and with Matt Stafford, he has now new weapons. And I feel like with Stafford, he hasn't got the break that he deserves. You know what I mean? The break, he only had really one true receiver in my mind, which is Megatron, which he retired 4 years ago. And it felt like that he didn't have the stars with him. And I feel like with the Rams having Cooper Kupp, Brandon Cooks, and all those other receivers are going to help him out immensely. I mean, with Jared Goff, I felt like this year also he kind of dropped off. You know what I mean? He kind of dropped off. He didn't feel like himself. Because, again, when he was in the Super Bowl in 2018, he threw for 4,688 yards and 32 touchdowns. I mean, that's pretty incredible after being the 2016 number 1 overall pick. And he's got to be able to find himself back in Detroit. And I hope with the new head coach and Dan Campbell and the whole new coaching staff there is going to help him out a lot.
And, I mean, when you look at it, Matt Stafford is ranked top 20 in over 6 different categories, and it hasn't played in a single playoff game yet. He's had a phenomenal Hall of Fame potential career and has not played his first playoff game. Me being the stat guy that I am, I looked at the stats for the Rams to win the Super Bowl next year. The Rams went from 1,800 to 1,500 winning the Super Bowl. So with Stafford, their odds of winning the Super Bowl went up, but not significantly enough to really put them in contention with the Patriots, with Tom Brady, or like the Buccaneers with Tom Brady, or even the Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, and I think that has a lot to do with the culture in Detroit. You know what I mean? I feel like when you ever have a team, you want to have great culture, right? And you want to have players that want to evolve. You want to have teammates that go with you. And like I said, I just didn't see that with what Stafford had beforehand. I feel like when he's down in L.A., you know, like you said, he's immensing with his buddy in Clayton Kershaw, and he's having a great time, right? So I feel like that's going to be an important part for him in his growth and his development in the National Football League.
And also looking at it, the Rams won't have a first-round draft pick until the year 2024. The only first-round draft pick that will be playing on their team until 2024 goes by the name of Aaron Donald. You may or may not know him. He is most likely going to be the Defensive Player of the Year. He has been called a 300-pound bar of soap when wet. He cannot be stopped by any offensive lineman, and sometimes it takes up to 3 of them just to slow him down.
Yeah, that's another thing, too, that is an advantage, right? Because you got Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey. That's going to help out Stafford, too. And that's, I believe, with a defense like the Rams, right? The defense that they have, and now having the weapons they had before. And Sean McVay, he's still a young coach. He's a young coach that's still developing and trying to help himself out with the program. So I think it's going to be big for the Rams if they want to try to beat Seattle or Arizona or the teams in the NFC West they got to be able to come together as a full team. They got to be able to beat the Russell Wilson, the Kyler Murray, and all those kind of players. Because with Aaron Donald coming at you, you know he's a force of nature. You know he's a force of nature. And Jalen Ramsey's a lockdown corner. So, you know, he's a lockdown corner. And this whole team, they just got to be able to evolve as one group.
The Rams made the playoffs this year and ended up winning one game, losing the following game. So it was a tough break. They beat Seattle, who actually won the division. Mm-hmm. The Rams came in as a wild card, beat the divisional winner, went on to play the Packers and lost. Tough break in Lambeau. But moving forward with Stafford, now that they have a high-quality quarterback, even though he is a bit older, he still is a high-quality performing quarterback. Moving forward, the Rams should have a pretty good sense of how to build a playoff team around Stafford and around the defense. So, now that we're talking about trades, the big one, the Mac Daddy of them all, Deshaun Watson trade. Is he going to be traded? If he isn't traded, is Houston still going to let him play? What do you think, Max?
Well, Deshaun Watson, first of all, we got to understand that his contract that he's under is a no-trade kind of clause situation. What that means is he has the opportunity to choose for him and himself what's best for him. And what's best for him is, does he really want to be in Houston? I mean, that whole organization down there, to me, it just didn't feel right. You know what I mean? It just didn't feel right for him. I mean, if you look at it, I think the Dolphins could be an interesting place. You know what I mean? Because they're a young, evolving team, got a great head coach, Brian Flores. And, you know, what they did this year, their defense, they had a really good defense, I thought. You know, they did a good job representing the conference that way. So, but another team I'm looking at is the Las Vegas Raiders. And hear me out with this, Kruck. I think the Las Vegas Raiders are a team that is very interesting. If you know John Gruden, he really likes Clemson, on Alabama, kind of speedy kind of guys. He kind of likes, you know, and their defense has gotten better. Their organization's gotten better. They beat the Chiefs in the division one of the times this year. So the Raiders could be an interesting spot, and probably moving Derek Carr down to Houston, and maybe some other future little first-round picks as well. Just
some notes that I took looking over the possible trade situations going on. Carolina, Chicago, Denver, Indianapolis, Las Vegas, Miami, and New England are all interested in them. Out of those entire teams, only one team, the Miami Dolphins, is going to give away one first-round pick. The rest are going to give away two, and the Indianapolis Colts are offering 3 first-rounders and Phillip Rivers, if they want him, to the Houston Texans for Deshaun Watson. And I personally believe that Deshaun Watson should go to the Indianapolis Colts, not just for the 3 first-round picks, but because they have the best O-line. Their defense this year was phenomenal, top 10 in the NFL. They've had some struggles trying to get the ball to wide receivers. So you get a guy like Deshaun Watson who sets the passing record in 2020, had to fight through COVID and all these situations. He has the ability to take the Colts in a deep playoff run, if not to the playoffs.
Yeah, it's an interesting take that I thought about there, Kruck. I mean, when you look at the Colts, right, you know, you just lost Phillip Rivers, you know, and now your team you still got a rebounding team with their defense. I mean, Darius Leonard, he's a great linebacker for their team. And, you know, they got great running backs in Jonathan Taylor, which that Wisconsin running back. He made a lot of yards against my Buckeyes, Kruck, if you want to know about this way. But, no, it's very, very interesting that you said about the Colts. But to me, the most logical, like I said, probably the Dolphins, maybe the Jets, if the Jets want to try to help themselves out, right, with getting maybe if they want to do a package with Sam Darnold, or they don't want to keep Sam Darnold. So that's going to be interesting to me. So the 2 teams I'm looking at most likely for Deshaun are going to be either the Miami Dolphins. They do something with Tua, some other, like you said, some other picks, future picks in the 2022 and maybe 2021 draft, and maybe the Jets if they want to help rebuild themselves, get out of the New York, you know what I think, the little problems that they're having in the whole ingestion of that city. No, it would be those 2 teams I think are the most likely are going to be the place for Deshaun.
And this trade cannot go unmentioned, is one of the biggest things that's happening in sports this month. Brett Favre, a Hall of Fame quarterback who played for the Packers, Falcons, Jets, probably another team in there, has come out on record and said that Deshaun Watson should be happy with whatever situation he's in and should not ask to be traded. He should pretty much just be happy wherever he is. And Deshaun Watson's not personal trainer, but agent came out and pretty much said, Brett Favre, don't throw stones in your glass house.
Yeah, I mean, looking at Deshaun Watson, a lot of teams want him, right? Deshaun Watson, he's an elusive quarterback. He can throw the ball all around, and he makes a lot of plays. And, coming from Clemson, coming from Dabo Swinney and that whole organization, it was just great to see, his involvement and everything. And I hope he finds a good team, and we'll see how it works. Well, Kruck, we're going to move over to the NBA. We had a fun little 3 topics of NFL, but now we're going to move over to the NBA and talk about Raptors guard Fred VanVleet. Fred VanVleet, he scored 54 points against the Orlando Magic in a 123-108 win on Tuesday night. He became the first NBA player to score that amount of points as an undrafted agent. That is really cool to my mind. That is awesome for him. Kruck, what did you think of his performance, and what do you think of the Raptors as a potential team to watch in the NBA?
Well, as a guy who grew up 30 minutes away from Rockford, Illinois, I know the name Fred VanVleet pretty well as James Robinson with the Jacksonville Jaguars, just a name drop real quick. But Fred VanVleet is huge when it comes to Rockford and basketball. An undrafted rookie, had to work his way through the G League, just an absolute inspiration to hard work and dedication. In that performance where he scored 54 points, he was 17 for 23 on field goals. He was 11 for 14 on three-pointers and a perfect 9 for 9 from the charity stripe. But 11 for 14 from three-point range.
Wow.
That goes down in my book as one of the best shooting performances in a long time. That's up there with Klay Thompson's 60-point game on 4 dribbles.
I mean, he was lights out, Kruck. You know what I mean? When I look at, the stats and look at what the Raptors are at, right? With that performance with Fred VanVleet, they have other great guards, right? And when I think of the Raptors, I thought of their NBA run they had with Kawhi Leonard, right? With Kawhi Leonard, and when they beat the Warriors, and they felt so good. The country of Canada, they were so up there, and they were so glad. But, now it feels different, right? Now they have a great 2 players, right? Pascal Siakam, Kyle Lowry. And obviously, if Fred VanVleet can keep putting performances like that, this team could become a team to watch. I mean, the problem is, though, in the Eastern Conference, it is getting more loaded, right? You're getting the Brooklyn Nets that got James Harden, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and you have the Celtics with Tatum and Brown, and then you have the Sixers with Embiid. So this whole conference is starting to become – because a lot of people, I always like to think, is Eastern Conference or Western Conference the better one? You know what I mean? I always thought first it was the Western Conference when I watched. But now the Eastern Conference, it's starting to come better. They're starting to get teams. They're starting to compete with this, the Western Conference to win NBA championships. So I believe if Fred VanVleet can keep it up and keep putting performances like that and, just try to keep pushing himself. This team, the Raptors, you got to watch them out.
And also to continue on it was not just a scoring night for Fred VanVleet. The rest of his box score included 3 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 steals, and 3 blocks in 37 minutes. Going into the second quarter, he had 17 points. Going into halftime, he had 28. In the third quarter is when he did most of his damage, totaling 46. Going into the fourth quarter, and then just hit 8 more points in the fourth quarter, took a seat, and famous Raptors that he's outscored, which in my mind is pretty cool. Hakeem Olajuwon, one of the greatest centers of all time.
Wow.
He outscored Kawhi Leonard. He outscored Vince Carter, who you may know as one of the greatest dunkers of all time. Tracy McGrady, what could have been. And then Kyle Lowry. So he's outscored every single Raptor ever. And he's just getting started. Yeah. Came out of Wichita State. He had something to prove, and I think he proved it, but I think in his mind he's not done yet.
Absolutely. I think for him it's got to be the mindset, right? His mindset has got to keep being, I got to be able to perform this amount of points to help my team win a championship. Because to me right now, their leading scorer at the moment, I mean, he right now is, but Pascal Siakam is right there. He's a great rebounder. He's tall, and he makes a lot of plays. So if this team wants to win a championship, right, if they want to have this way, they got to have the mentality of Fred VanVleet. You got to be out there doing your best you can, right? And, when he was reporting, I found some research. He really wants to, he said to a reporter, he feels great, and he wants to focus on winning a championship, right? He said this out to the Wichita Eagle, the local paper that was there. So if he wants to do that, he's got to be able to help his team out. He's got to make plays, make assists, like you said, get the rebounds, big boards for this team to win it all, Kruck.
And as you mentioned earlier, the talent in the NBA often does switch between the East and the West. In the 80s, it was probably the closest it ever was, split right down the middle, having Larry Bird in his left hand scoring 47 points as he wanted to in the East. But then he also had Magic, and then, this guy you might know, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, he was in the West. But then in the 90s, everybody knows that the East was in charge because Michael Jordan pretty much wouldn't let anybody else take his throne. But nowadays, it is right down the middle. They have talent in the West. They have talent in the East. The only place they really don't have talent is my Chicago Bulls. So we're going to move on here. Now it's time for our segment here at our local college, Avila University. Avila University recently had their home opener for baseball at the Zarda Family Multi-Sport Complex. They ended up splitting with Peru State Bobcats. Peru State won the first game 9-1. And Avila won the second game 6-2. Got anything to mention on that one?
Yeah, I mean, it was good. I was probably glad they were back home, right? They had a couple of postponements before. They had one with a weather delay and stuff. So they've probably felt good to be back home and enjoying it. I mean, some stats that I found out, some great from junior Gunnar Brody and Briley great pitching performances. They did a good job in that win over Peru State. And also the two 3-run home run shots by Jared Fry and Hunter Reed. That was very important for them to win that game. And they're going to have to keep having that, right, Kruck? They got to keep improving every single day.
Absolutely. Touch on the first game. Keaton Ashby, the Eagles ace, pitched the first game, and he was retired early after 2 1/3 innings, giving up 7 earned runs. After him came in Justin Lohman, who pitched the rest of the game, only giving up 2 runs. The Eagles only ended with 3 hits that game, but the takeaway that I found, Jose Diana, the pitcher for the Bobcats of Peru State, pitched 6 innings, only allowing 3 hits, 1 run, and had 9 strikeouts. When he was finally relieved, Caballero came in his first live pitch, domed Kurt Trotter right in the helmet. We thought he was down. He got up, trotted down to first base. What a trooper. Caballero ended up getting 2 more strikeouts, and that was the end of the first game. But going forward here, if Avila wants to start collecting more wins, they're going to have to start their offense a lot earlier. Mm-hmm. And their defense has got to wake up straight out of the gate. Avila gave up 3 runs in the opening inning. You can't win games when you give up 3 runs in an opening inning.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Kruck. I think exactly what I said before, right? The defense has got to, like you said, the defense has got to starting right away. Because if you allow a lot of runs at the beginning of the game, it's not going to go well, right? Your team's going to fall down. The team morale's not going to go great. So I think just a fast start. The fast starts are important. And they got to also be able to, take care and get some big hits, right, when they need it the most. Like you said, in that first game, they just didn't have the bat production to win. They didn't have it. And the second game, they did, right? They got the 2 big shots. So, if they keep having that consistency, they keep having all that, this team could be a contender in the KCAC.
And just as a reminder, this season was shut down rather suddenly last year due to the COVID-19 virus outbreak. It was in the middle of their season. So for some of these sophomores this year, it's still technically partly their freshman season. So you got two ages of freshmen playing at home right now, which is tough, but you got to get over the hump at some point. You're only a rookie for so long. But I do agree, the bats have to start earlier, and they have to hit more often for the rest of the season if they want to be a contender.
Yeah, absolutely agree, Kruck.
So moving forward, our final topic of the day is going to be, once again, another trade, but not in the NFL. This trade happened in the MLB. You might know it. The best third baseman in baseball got traded to the St. Louis Cardinals. Nolan Arenado going to the Cardinals. The Cardinals instantly NLC favorites. What do you got on that, Max?
I wouldn't say they're NL like favorites. I mean, they're going to be better off with them. I think, I looked at some bets, looked at some odds. Before Arenado, they're about 80% at least to get into the postseason. That's what I noticed. But now with him, 86%. With Arenado, he's a good Golden Glove winner, right? He's very known for his defense, right? And he's won it 5 times. He makes a lot of plays. When I watch him, he does guys cool underhand catches and cool things. So that's awesome for him. But also the bat production, right? Not just his defense. He does it both ways. And I think that the Cardinals, they're getting a great player in him, right? He is going to help them maybe become around the second or first place. The Reds, here's the thing about the Reds. When I notice about the Reds, they don't know about, with Trevor Bauer, what he's going to be like. They don't know if he's going to stay with Cincinnati or not, or, what the bats are going to be like, right? We got Mike Moustakas, Castellanos, and we got to figure out if the Reds are still going to be like that. And the Cubs, they're good, but they weren't as great as they were before, right? They weren't, I think they got to find themselves when they won those World Series, right? They got to find themselves in this way. So I think the Cardinals, they're going to be close, right? They're going to be close, but I think it's going to be, they got to keep getting their offense, right? Right now they have Goldschmidt, they got DeJong, and they got some other great players on their offense, but is it going to be enough? We'll see.
And since you brought up the rest of the teams, the Pittsburgh Pirates gutted their team as well. Not doing too good. They traded away Josh Bell. They traded away most of their talent other than their catcher. And then the Milwaukee Brewers, well, as a fan of the Milwaukee Brewers, it's hard to talk bad about them, but they are on the decline as of recently. They signed Kenton Wong, but that's not going to be enough to turn the team around. But the Cardinals definitely came away with the trade. 100%. There's no doubt about it. They got the third baseman, Nolan Arenado, and they got $51 million from the Rockies to help pay for the contract. But what did the Rockies get? They got 3 pitchers, 2 righties, 1 lefty, and then 2 infielders. So they definitely got 5 players for 1 player, but that 1 player was pretty good to trade away.
Yeah, when you look at Nolan Arenado, like I said before, I found some stats here, Kruck, from 2015, right? And I looked at since 2015, he is right now first with 647 RBIs, batted in. He's had 427 extra base hits, and he has 207 home runs. All those are either the top 5 in their category of what he is. So what the Cardinals are getting is they're getting someone that's important to them. And that's going to be interesting. With the Brewers, like you mentioned them before, what is the Brewers going to be like, right? When you look at Christian Yelich, I always thought he was the player, right? Christian Yelich, he's there, he makes a lot of plays, and he's a great versatile player for them. So we'll have to see. I think, the Cardinals, they're a team, like I said, they have the pedigree, they got the coach, and can they keep it up? We'll have to see.
And then just a little bit more news. Arenado said he'd like to be a Cardinal for a long time. They are NL Central favorites. Second being the Cubs. Third being the Cincinnati Reds. Yadier Molina expected to be back very soon. And then now that Trevor Story is all alone on the right side of the infield in Colorado's thinking about trading him as well. So that's been Crunch Time with Kruck. It's been a pleasure talking to you. Hope you learned a little bit of something. If not, I just hope you didn't fall asleep at the computer. My name's Jake Krugenberg. This is Max Williams. We'll see you next time.